From the moment the chopper blade sliced through the cold morning air, there was something different about the woman sitting silently beside the door. Even the soldiers around her could feel it, though they didn't understand why. She wasn't tall, nor did she have the loud commanding presence they were used to in senior officers. But there was a weight in her gaze, a kind of storm hidden behind calm eyes, as if she had lived through things they weren't meant to imagine. When she stepped out onto the landing strip, the wind picked up, not violently, but with the kind of force that feels like nature itself acknowledging someone important. And in that moment, none of the men watching knew that history was about to witness one of its quietest, yet most powerful forms of leadership. Her name was Commander Alina Rourke, a specialist transferred to a Joint Forces Operations Unit. She walked across the tarmac with a single duffel bag, her boots steady, her shoulders squared. All around her, officers whispered, confused at how someone who looked so young could be assigned to one of the toughest military response divisions in the region. Rumor had it that she had lost her entire previous squad in a tragic ambush, a detail no one dared ask her about. Others said she had been recommended directly by an admiral after she saved a group of civilians in a conflict zone when every tactical prediction said rescue was impossible. Whatever the truth, she carried herself like someone who knew both the cost of failure and the responsibility of second chances. The base commander, Captain Harrington, was the first to confront her. He approached her with stiff shoulders and narrowed eyes, clearly skeptical of her role. It wasn't that he disliked her, he disliked not knowing where she fit in the chain of command. Military systems rely on hierarchy as much as oxygen, and to him, Alina looked like an anomaly, a disruption. But she greeted him with a respectful nod, her expression calm and unreadable. He asked who she reported to, demanding clarity about her rank and chain. But instead of answering immediately, she simply observed the soldiers training in the distance, every movement, every mistake, every strength. Only after a long, weighted silence did she speak, that she reported to everyone under her. That simple phrase struck the captain like a blow. It was not arrogance, nor rebellion, but a quiet truth about service, duty, and leadership. Yet the captain didn't understand it, not yet. What no one knew was that Alina carried a past heavy enough to silence even the bravest. Years earlier, she had been deployed with a special rescue squad, a unit that trusted her more than anyone else in command. But during a critical mission, a miscommunication caused by faulty intel sealed the team inside a collapsing structure during an insurgent attack. Alina barely made it out alive. Her squad did not. The guilt ate at her, not because she believed the loss was her fault, but because she survived when they didn't. She spent months after the tragedy questioning whether she deserved to lead again. Ultimately, when she returned to service, she made a vow: she would never again lead from above, she would lead from among, beside, and behind the people she was tasked to protect. In her mind, she reported to them, their well-being, their safety, their hope. On her first day at the new base, she witnessed something quietly troubling. The soldiers lacked unity. They followed orders, but without trust. They performed drills, but without heart. Many were new recruits, others were seasoned but tired, worn by losses that the world never heard about. The unit wasn't broken, it was disconnected. And disconnection in military operations was as dangerous as any weapon. Alina didn't criticize them. Instead, she trained with them, ate with them, and listened. She noticed how one soldier tried to hide an injury to avoid medical leave, how another forced humor to conceal fear, how a young private froze every time training involved explosive sounds, reminders of something traumatic he never spoke about. She saw everything, and judged nothing. When an urgent operation came in, a missing unit stranded near hostile territory, the base panicked. The mission involved unknown terrain, unpredictable threats, and severe weather. Captain Harrington doubted Alina's readiness, not knowing she had already studied the topography, analyzed enemy patterns, and even drafted 3 possible extraction routes. She volunteered to lead the mission, startling many. The captain hesitated, but the shortage of experienced field strategists left him with few options. After all, she was assigned there for a reason. As they boarded the aircraft, the soldiers felt an unusual sense of reassurance around her. She didn't stand apart from them, she stood with them. She checked their gear herself, tightened straps, adjusted helmets, and ensured no detail was overlooked. And though she rarely spoke, her presence alone seemed to steady shaking hands. When the aircraft shook violently mid-flight, one recruit began hyperventilating. Alina rested a hand on his shoulder, not with command, but with humanity. She grounded him, whispering steady breathing cues, and slowly, he calmed. As they descended into the conflict zone, the visibility was dangerously low. The terrain was more unstable than expected. Communication lines jammed. Every single soldier felt the possibility of failure creeping into their thoughts. But Alina remained composed. She remembered the night she lost her previous squad, the panic, the chaos, the helplessness, and she refused to let history repeat itself. She ordered a formation adjustment, slower but safer. She used landmarks invisible to most eyes. And when enemy scouts appeared, she positioned the unit behind natural cover with such seamless precision that not one soldier was detected. Hours passed before they finally located the missing unit. They were injured, cornered in a ravine, and rapidly losing strength. Other leaders might have rushed in. Alina calculated every angle, every threat, every escape pattern. She created a diversion using minimal noise, signaling her team silently with movements so practiced they looked choreographed. When she led the descent into the ravine, it wasn't as a commander barking orders, it was as the first person willing to put her life on the line. The rescued soldiers, barely conscious, looked at her like she was an apparition of hope. But the real test awaited them on the return. A storm rolled in, turning the terrain into a trap of mudslides and falling debris. One misstep could mean death. As they ascended, a massive section of the slope collapsed. A soldier slipped, dangling from a fractured root. Alina threw herself forward, grabbing his wrist with a strength that defied her size. The slope cracked again, threatening to take them both down. Others scrambled to pull them back, but Alina insisted they stabilize themselves first. She refused to risk another life. Inch by inch, she lifted him until he was safe. Only then did she let herself collapse onto the ground. For a moment, she closed her eyes, not from exhaustion, but from the flood of relief. When they finally reached the extraction point, drenched, battered, and shaking but alive, Alina walked last, ensuring every soldier, including the injured, was secured. As they boarded the aircraft, Captain Harrington waited for them at the base. His expression shifted the moment he saw his team, united, grateful, transformed. And when Alina stepped off the aircraft, mud-streaked and silent, the captain didn't ask her to explain her leadership anymore. He finally understood. Leadership was not about who commanded, it was about who carried the weight of those who followed. Over the next weeks, the base underwent a quiet revolution. Soldiers trained harder, trusted deeper, and operated with a unity they had never felt before. Alina didn't force discipline, she built belief. The captain often watched her from a distance, realizing time and again that she didn't need to demand respect, she inspired it. And slowly, stories of her past reached him, not through her, but through the small ways soldiers spoke about how she helped them heal, push, and grow. The base was no longer disconnected. It was a family. Months later, during a ceremony honoring the rescue mission, Captain Harrington stepped forward unexpectedly. In front of the entire unit, he acknowledged that he had once questioned who Alina reported to. And then he admitted that now he understood. She reported to the people she protected, the people she taught, the people she led not from above but from within. And as the audience stood in silent respect, many realizing the depth of what she had endured to become who she was, Alina felt something she hadn't felt in years, a sense of inner peace. Near the end of her speech, she mentioned that leadership wasn't about authority, it was about responsibility. Not about being saluted, but about ensuring those saluting survive long enough to go home. And for the first time in a long time, she believed in her purpose again.